Okay, I'll get in a minute. I'll get to why I'm up here alone. Tell me when you're starting.
Oh, sorry. Just starting. Do you want me to start it over again?
Ready? 1, 2, 3, go. So the last time I was standing up here, before I get started, I just want to warn everybody that there might be some graphic sexual content in this presentation. So if that's going to bother you, get out of the room. The last time, so this is our Stanford design process. We're at the intersection of this Venn diagram. And the last time I presented on haptics, everybody hammered me for being technology-focused and ignoring the human-centered design aspect, which was legitimate. So I backed out and went back to talking to people, and that's how I rephrased the perspective as intimacy and technology, which is what haptics was really about for me. The first group I looked at, and this was something that I was inspired to research just from our ideas originally starting thesis this year, was people in long-distance relationships. And I talked to a few of them. I'll just talk about the singulars that stood out for this presentation because I only have 5 minutes. It's really hard, but not impossible these days with Skype and everything. It's just a matter of connecting daily and remembering why you're doing it in the first place. Pretty common. I know there's some of you that are in long-distance relationships, and I'm sure that you would agree with the sentiment. The takeaways were that people have a need to remain intimate at a distance, especially modern people, and that these people especially are open to technology-facilitated intimacy. And this term I sort of blew up a little bit and sort of looked at it in ways that I thought maybe I could expand on this idea. And the first thing I went to was sexual intimacy, because that's what I always think about. So I started exploring, and I found lots of amazing groups out there. There's a DIY culture for sexual toys. This is actually an Arduino shield. There's a penis in the trace right here. And this is an Arduino shield just for DIY sex toys. And they're specifically designed for remote interactions. And I thought this was really fascinating that this group even existed, much less that it was like a vibrant community online. And when I contacted them, they pointed me to some larger trends that extended beyond their blog, trends that had to do with remote intimacy and interaction. Oh yeah, you might recognize that Wii remote. This is called the Wheeldo. So these are some interesting hacks. But they pointed me to this website called Virtual Sex. And this is a site where you can literally pay a lot of money per minute to have sex with a model, with a machine, just with your mouse. And that's not a new idea necessarily, but what's really interesting to me is that there's a scoreboard, and because you get a rating every time you pay for this. And there's a minimum 5-minute pay period, okay? So I did some quick math and found out that this guy, Herbie, in 18 days of October has managed to keep first place with that score. And even if he's getting 9 out of 10 every time, it means he spent like $1,000 in 2 weeks. So I thought that was really interesting because this sort of is analogous to like what online poker did for poker playing, where you may be missing out on the face-to-face contact of a poker game, but you're getting to play like 1,000 poker games back-to-back, whereas it used to be a lot harder to get poker games under your belt. So that was interesting to me, but I sort of backed out again, and I went over to Folsom Street, where there's a lot of different people in the sex industry working, and I talked to a gay porn director who told me that a lot of devices out there are designed for women and not very tasteful at all, which is stupid. Sex deserves good design. And gay men are probably the most open to trying new things. There should be more toys for boys. In the same day, talked to just a random guy on the street. He was gay. His name was Marcos. I mean, it's Folsom Street. You can do that. And I was talking about toys, and he said, I really love controlling my partner's arousal. That's the most intimate thing I can think of. And I asked him, well, which toys do you prefer to do that? He said, none of them. There's really not many devices out there that I feel comfortable buying. It's either too cheap or it's creepy and S&M-ish. And the takeaways here were that I think technology can do for sex what it did for the game of poker. I also think that erotic modulation is highly intimate, and that's a need that's not really being met even by toys on the market today. And that this particular subgroup of all people who might use these toys, gay men, are very open to experimentation and erotic technology, and they're extremely underserved in this space. So at the same time, I was discussing with a potential sponsor of this project who has now signed on to be the sponsor. They want to be anonymous for the time being, but if you think real hard, you can figure out who it is. And there's a new technology out there that isn't just vibration. It's called electrostimulus. It's not actually new, but it's a growing trend. It's a low-level electric current. used for stimulus. It provides a high degree of modularity, so you can really control the arousal level, and you can extend that arousal level without orgasm for a very, very long time. Almost done. So at the same time I was talking to the sponsor, they told me the ET312B, this is a power unit for these types of toys, is a $500 piece of shit. It's typical in the e-stimulation market. There's no attention paid to user experience, and everything looks like lab equipment. The current offerings, the takeaway here is the current offerings are primarily female focused. They're all really poorly designed. This is a screenshot here, and it says it's new, it's improved, and it's purple. And there's a community. So much better. Yeah, right. Why would they even put this on the site, right? And there's a community of unsatisfied DIYers out there, and I'm not convinced that they're DIYers because they love building crap with Arduinos. I think it's because they're just unserved. There's also a current trend of erotic device becoming more accepted by the mainstream. There's even stuff in the App Store, the Puritanical App Store. This is an app that turns your iPhone into a pocket vibrator. And it has terrible ratings because it's an iPhone. It doesn't have a very strong vibrator in it. But the fact that iTunes approved this really does say something to me. The opportunity space, this is my point of view, is that number one, control of control of stimulation is a relatively unmet need, and there's an opportunity out there to do it at a much, much greater level. Delivering loving touch from remote locations is something that a lot of people, gay or straight, could use. I think this is a project that you could really prototype heavily in the gay space and then expand on it. Most importantly, there's really just poorly designed or current offerings. Everything out there is just crappy looking and turns everybody off. And there is a possibility for miniaturization and network interactions here because these are all technology products. So now finally, the reason why I'm up here alone. The corporate sponsor that signed up for this said their one requirement, and it's a hard stop, is that all members of the team have to be comfortable with the subject matter. They have to be non-judgmental of the user groups, specifically gay people, because that's who we're going to be working with, gay men. And they were willing to test the product on themselves. Corinne already graduated, and Ed Wood's gone too. So I couldn't really find anybody else in the loft who was down with this project. My personal experience with project management and leadership makes me feel like I can take it on alone. I know that there's a concern about doing projects alone, but I've managed big projects before. I'm not afraid to take this on alone, and I have a lot of support from the sponsor. So this is a quick schedule of what I expect to do. They have connections with Chinese manufacturing, and we can get prototypes out by winter. That's their plan, and get beta testing done by winter into winter. So that's my case for a solo project. Thanks.
Solo projects.
Yeah.
So we said the only rule we have is you couldn't do a solo project.
I know.
Because of a solo project.
Yeah.
So that's problematic. We have this type of thing. The other thing is we've had a lot of bad luck with sponsors and projects, just so you know.
Because they control too much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Control too much. And so when it comes down to it, you don't make the decision, or you make the decision with what you think is going to please them rather than pleasing you.
Yeah.
So, you can have a perfect client. I mean, I have plenty of clients who would let me do anything I want, but I have clients that they're overly controlled.
Yeah, I was concerned about that as well, and it's something, I had a conversation about it. They assured me that that wouldn't be the case and that I had a lot of freedom, but it's something that.
This happened a little bit last year. The corporate sponsor takes a little bit for the corporate sponsor, and it moves to a different direction.
Yeah. Yeah.
One, I think in this case, if I know what this is, it's not an issue. And the single thing is an issue. We have to talk about that.
Sure.
I love this space.
Good.
I love this need. I love this space. I love the prototyping. You didn't show enough dirty pictures.
I took a lot out.
That's showing you.
Sorry.
I mean, well, I don't know if we can do it, but there's no, other than Crave, there's nobody doing anything worth a shit in this space. And
well,
somebody should do it.
I was there talking to Crave that same day, and they obviously their position in the whole thing, right? So, yeah.
I think
All right.
challenging.